We have several things that we do. We obviously do a public driving class. Consists of about 2.5 hours of classroom, and then the rest of the day is different driving maneuvers to expose people to different conditions and let them experience those in a controlled environment. We get a lot of the public people just interested in being better drivers. We do the team drivers out here. That's a big program for us out here, and we've had some good partnerships with some different people on getting that stuff done. It's just a overall mix of groups. Sometimes it's people appointed by the court to come to a driving course. Sometimes somebody's worried about their elderly parent. Are they still able to drive and do it sufficiently? So, we have this program that we do here. We also have a whole driver's ed side where they actually have one-on-one with driver's ed instructors. So we pretty much cover the whole thing. I think when people come to driving school and they're going to drive, they think about the driving aspect. And like I said, we do some situations where we put them in quicker stops, quicker turns, skids, those kind of things. But I think people are more surprised how important the decision making is when you're driving a car. If you're making the right decisions when you're driving a vehicle and you're doing it properly, you don't need to use a lot of those techniques that we teach, like evasive maneuvers and control braking and those sorts of things. I think they're really surprised at how much they need to be thinking as they're coming down the road prior to a situation. And that's where a lot of times people fail. They'll run right up to something and then all of a sudden they have to do something. So I see more people probably excited about, realizing that, hey, I need to start looking a little further ahead, thinking, what if this car pulls off? What if that kid steps off the curb? Those kind of things that we look out into the future to see a little bit more.
Geese. Took that more literally.
They came back around.
All right, we run one more time.
Well, no, you don't have to. You did pretty good.
All right, your turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
God, this is going to be ridiculous. This is the hard part, Braden, right here. I can't even do this while just driving by itself. Oh, I have a response. So should I be saying hilarious things now? Yes. Yes. Oh, I crossed the line. So you were too good at this, Braden.
We have that on camera.
Which means that you have more practice at this than I do.
I'd hit stop recording right then.
I still have it on the GoPro.
Multitasking is basically a myth. Your brain is simply switching from one thing and then it switches back to another, and it switches, back and forth. And obviously maybe younger people can do that quicker, but realistically what people end up doing most of the time when they're multitasking is they do two things poorly at once. And that's what we try to get across to the students out here. The reason I think that there's so much, maybe they're not as impressed by a lot of the things that we talk about when we talk about the dangers of texting and driving is the lack of experience. And we try to explain to people, you're driving in not only the most distracted driving society that we've ever had, you're driving in some of the least experienced, around some of the least experienced drivers. For 27 years, the state paid me to go up and down the highways and look at stuff. And I'm retired now, but I still do that. Glance around at people going by, and I'm just absolutely amazed at the number of people that are texting and driving vehicles. And it's very obvious. You can tell them before you even get to them or before they even get to you, just by the crossing of the lanes, the slowing up and down, and the last minute maneuvers that they're having to try to make to avoid something. And it's all due to texting. And I think it's a very necessary thing that we need to address. Like I said earlier, I think the law should be stricter. I think it should be any handheld device that's distracting a driver should be punishable, because people that get killed by people reaching for a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, they're just as dead as people that get killed by people texting. So distraction's a distraction is kind of our thought on it, and avoiding those distractions are really what we like to stress here during our classroom portion.